Good evening, class. Let's have a quick discussion about how the brain learns how to read. Now, this is an interesting subject because I just recently learned that the brain does not naturally learn how to read. A student must acquire a certain set of characteristics or skills in order for their brain to learn how to read. With that being said, three neural systems come together to process words. The visual processing system scans the words into the brain, the auditory system sounds those words out, and then the frontal lobes integrate those two alleys of information into meaning. They develop meaning for that visual and auditory processing. I'm going to utilize my own personal reading program that I utilize every day. I've used for the last 4 years, and I've seen a variety of results. 90% of the children learning how to read before entering into kindergarten. It's a very strategic plan and a strategic program. Now, the first skill that a student needs to learn how to read or characteristic would be phonological awareness, understanding that oral language can be broken down into smaller components. For example, students being able to recognize that words break down into letters, letters break down into sounds, smaller components. Another important characteristic or skill would be the alphabetic principle. And this just means that phonemes are represented as letters, understanding that each individual letter can be used to create something more, like a word, or it can stand alone on its own, because each letter of the alphabet is its own letter and its own sound. Vocabulary is something that's learned through everyday experiences with oral and written language. Students learn to build their vocabulary through the words that they hear being spoken around them from early ages, even at infancy. Written language, for those who know how to read on their own, or just seeing written language in stories that they've been read or stories that they skim through on their own, and recognizing that a word is a word or a picture is a picture, the differences. Last, fluency. Fluency deals with reading the text orally with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. Now, this comes from in the early years of the student's education, reading to them and making that part where a character is sad, making it sad with expression, making it exciting with expression, or making it mad with expression, anxious, whatever the emotion is, like conveying that in the tone that is being utilized to read that particular story. So that children, when they mimic at young ages, they mimic what you do when you read that story. And then once they get older and their capabilities have grown and they're reading on their own, they learn to read with that same expression on their own, because they understand the context in which the story is being read. And that comes to comprehension. Comprehension is another key skill. Is back to the frontal lobes. The frontal lobes is creating that meaning. What do these words that I'm reading mean? And that goes along with the comprehension key characteristic or skill. Now, the program that I'm accustomed to using is through the company that I work for. Their program is called the Learning Experience Academic Program. Underneath that umbrella is how several other programs targeted it for several different age groups, from infants through pre-K students. Now, I am a pre-K or VPK teacher preparing children to go into kindergarten. With that being said, Our Fun for Phonics program specifically deals with our phonological awareness, our phonemic awareness, and building upon the same skills that I previously mentioned to produce an early reader. So at the beginning of the year, our program simply starts out with rehearsal of the letters and the recognition of those letters. Then next, attaching sounds to those letters and understanding that each letter makes a sound in spoken and written language. Then building upon that and in combination, learning sight words that words that you know when you see them. Once you learn those sight words and in connection with the sounds of the letters, you start to blend sounds to create words. You start to delete sounds so that you know that students are getting the concept of the individual sounds. When you put them together, they make new sounds, new words, those type of things. And then you build that from teaching them individual sounds and blending them together to helping them to create words, helping them to create word families, and then eventually helping them to start little readers, which are little small books that are beginning one or two words on the page, but they're proud when they can sound those words out or when they can recognize that sight word when they see it. And the program overall teaches the children how to utilize all of the skills that they've been taught in one event, which is reading a book, reading a set of words fluently, accurately, and in the right context. Now, I've enjoyed sharing with you guys, but one last thing. I've seen several results of this program. The first result is that 90% of the children that I have taught in the last 4 years are reading on their own before they ever enter into kindergarten. I have seen other results, students that are not reading, but then there's other factors. The developmental factor, there are developmental delays. Some students are just not developmentally ready. I have students that are on the younger end of our age bracket, which means they will develop the skill with more practice and more time. Sometimes they're just not ready. And you do have to do these type of things in the student's own timing and capability and ability. That way they don't grow resentful of the process or the skill to read. But thank you guys for tuning in. I've enjoyed just expressing or sharing my connection to teaching the brain how to read and relating it back to our information being taught in our current chapter. I can't wait to see you guys' responses and soak in a plethora of knowledge. Good night. Thanks, guys. Bye.